Good evening, and welcome to the Virtual College Exploration Program for all Pennsylvania students, sponsored by the Pennsylvania Association for College Admission Counseling and StriveScan. And on behalf of PACAC, my name is Tim Gallen, a past president, and I'm pleased to present this presentation for SUNY Maritime. PACAC is a non-for-profit association comprised of more than 1,200 school counselors, college admission counselors, independent education consultants, and other professionals responsible for guiding students through the important transition from high school to post-secondary options. So thank you for joining us tonight. I have just a few quick housekeeping announcements before we get started. First, you can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening over the course of the next few weeks, so be sure to check out the full schedule at pacac.org. Again, that's pacac.org. This presentation is being recorded and will be available within about 1 week at that same website, pacac.org. And so I'd like to turn it over now to our presenter, Ridge Robinson. Thank you, Ridge.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for viewing. I'm going to go ahead and screen share. So welcome to our SUNY Maritime presentation. Just to get kicked off, I have a nice picture here overhead of our campus. We're located in Throgs Neck in the Bronx. In New York City. We're along the East River under the Throgs Neck Bridge. We're on a small, thin peninsula of land. We serve the maritime and marine industry. And so we're a focused SUNY, one of the smallest SUNYs in the state of New York. We're the second smallest, in fact, with 1,800 students. Because of that, average class sizes here tend to be around 21 students on average. 15 students per teacher on average as well. And lifestyle on campus is actually split. There's two different lifestyles. One is the regiment of cadets. It's roughly 70% of our students. The other 30% is civilian. I'll explain what that is in more detail in just a second. Of our college academics, we comprise 13 total nationally recognized programs, 5 of which are ABET accredited engineering programs. And so ABET accreditation, for those that don't know, is essentially the highest level of undergraduate accreditation you can get for an engineering degree. Engineering ends up being what we're most known for across the country, followed by business, science, and humanities. I'll show a breakdown of that in just a moment. In addition to that, though, we have numerous clubs, organizations, 80 total, 80 plus, in fact. If we don't offer something that you're interested in, students have the ability to create clubs and organizations once they're here. There's also funding available to do so. From an athletic standpoint, we have 13 NCAA Division III varsity sports. There's something for everybody. We do have water-based sports like sailing and rowing, being that I'm in marine college, but we have your typical things like football, baseball, basketball, soccer, lacrosse, swimming and diving, cross country. We even have some club sports like rugby and rifle. So just to further go into academics, I mentioned engineering is what we're most known for. The 5 engineering programs that we offer is electrical, facilities, marine, mechanical, and naval architecture. Bachelor's of Science is where our business, science, and humanities programs are housed. It's international transportation and trade is one of the business degrees. Marine environmental science is our science-based degree that we offer. And then we have 2 other business degrees, marine operations, marine transportation. And then lastly, we have a well-rounded liberal arts degree, maritime studies. We also have an associate's in applied science. This is marine technology. It's a 2-year associate's. These degrees, are very focused. And so to start off with Bachelor's of Engineering, really just to give you an overview of all 5, they are physical-based engineering programs, meaning that they are more hands-on. They are Bachelor's of Engineering, so they are schematic and design-oriented. We have things like electrical, mechanical, 2 general engineering programs that basically cater to all types of industries that require and need engineers. But then we get a little more focal with facilities, which is more building oriented, things with heating, air conditioning, ventilation, and energy conservation, but it also incorporates aspects of mechanical, electrical, and industrial components. It's essentially building engineering or management of buildings engineering. Marine engineering is very specific in that it focuses strictly on ships. So it has things to do with the internals of a ship, which then can pool over to power plants, which are very similar in nature. And this also incorporates some aspects of mechanical, electrical, and industrial engineering. And then lastly, Naval Arc, it's our most unique engineering program. We're one in 6 colleges that offer it. This is based around the design of commercial ships, small crafts, offshore naval vessels, offshore structures. It basically is the design and building of vessels. So it's very unique. We're one in 6 colleges. I think it's one of our most sought after engineering programs. Further though, international transportation and trade is I'd say our premier business degree at this time. It's a global business degree. We offer a fast track 5-year bachelor's to master's program in international transportation and trade. In addition to that, we have marine operations, which is fleet management business, and then marine transportation, which is more of the like A to Z of shipping, logistics, international business, and finance. They're just a little bit different in how they focus on business and how they relate to marine and maritime industry. We also have, as I mentioned, maritime studies, which is more of a law, policy, history, the arts related degree. It can be a great track for someone that wants to go to law school or wants to implement policy down the road in some capacity at the state or national level. Focusing on the associates, it's a ship-specific 2-year associates. I haven't yet gone into license, but with this degree, you have to choose either deck or engine license. It's limited in the sense that you can only work on small vessels, things like yachts, tugs, and ferries with this degree. And so I'll go into license in just a moment. We also have two master's degrees. We have international transportation management, which is that extension of international transportation and trade. And we also have maritime and naval studies, which is an extension of maritime studies. These essentially just build off of those 2 degrees, ITM being more management focused and maritime and naval studies being more in-depth, more emphasis, more focus on policy. And you can tailor it to specific interests from there even. So I mentioned the associates is license specific. Being that we're a marine and maritime industry school, we offer a United States Coast Guard license. This license enables students to work on commercial vessels. You have the option to get a deck license here or an engine license. These are in addition to those degrees that I had just showed you. So the deck license is more topside. Think control deck, think navigation, ship handling, nautical rules of the sea. You also can be handling things such as safety, security, and inspection of the vessel. You earn a third mate's license when you graduate with this deck license. It enables you to come out as a third mate and work up to captain status. You're qualified as a merchant mariner, merchant marine officer to work on commercial vessels. On the flip side of that, we have an engine license, and this is catered towards internals, so power and systems, mechanical systems in particular. You come out with a third assistant engineer's license, and you can work up to chief engineer. This also enables you to work on land in power plants, as ships tend to have a heavy correlation to the internals of power plants. So it does have some onshore, on land job capabilities. For students that aren't looking to work on a ship, however, we have internships here, and those internships are land-based. They are basically ways that you can get experience while you're in college during the summer periods. These internships enable you to potentially work for companies, earning some sort of payment in the summertime, as they are sometimes paid. Engineers are required to do 2. Bachelor's of Science students are required to do 1, but on average 2 to 3 internships per student. I'm just going to take a brief moment. So this page is lifestyle options. I mentioned that Coast Guard licensed students are pursuing a license to work on commercial ships. Because of that, they have to be in the Regiment of Cadets. The Regiment of Cadets is a quasi-military lifestyle. It requires them to essentially adhere to a military policy that the Coast Guard enables. And I'm just going to stop and take a small drink because I'm very dry. So I apologize. But Regiment of Cadets is essentially a program that the Coast Guard mandates where our students have to be in uniform. They have to adhere to kind of like a military esque lifestyle on campus in order to earn that license. It basically mimics ship life, and it basically trains them to work on ships. So, for instance, they are required to be at morning formations. It's where they're debriefed. They do this at 7 a.m. in the morning. Throughout the day, then they are taking their classes, their license classes, their major classes. They also will have regimental activities. They will have ship work or ship watch during the week, which can run during the day or in the evening or overnight. It can also happen on the weekends. They also have firefighting training, water training, a lot of different things to prepare them to work on ships. They have to be on campus Monday through Friday. They're restricted to campus. They cannot leave. It's essentially to discipline them to be on a rigorous ship lifestyle. So on the flip side of that, non-regiment, our civilian students, comprise 30% of our student body. These are students that are just pursuing degrees. They're looking at our engineering, our business, our science or humanities programs. They want to strictly work on land, and there's no restrictions on these students. Civilian students live in their own dorms, and so they have their own mod style dorm, which is separate from the Regiment of Cadets. Regiment of Cadets actually live in a communal style living. They have shared bathroom on each floor. They're in charge of their living quarters. They actually get them inspected on a weekly basis. Civilians are more of like your relaxed environment. They can have normal college student things in their rooms, TVs, etc. It's more of like your state college environment where, you live in the dorms, you hang out with your friends, you go off campus. It's not restrictive or scheduled like the Regiment of Cadets. So there is a difference. All of these students, though, regiment or non-regiment, they all take the same major classes together. The civilian students don't take license courses. So this is just to show which licenses or intern options are available for engineering degrees. The only degree that doesn't have an intern option is marine engineering because it's ship-centric. It's only ships that you'll be working on with marine engineering. Electrical and naval arc, though, have the deck license because electrical is more of a topside component on a ship. And naval arc kind of is the holistic shipbuilding. So it's hull all the way to the control deck. So there are aspects on top side of a ship that require deck license students. All of our engineering degrees, though, have the engine license option and is the most common. Bachelor's of Science, we all offer the deck license for these students. They all have the opportunity to get a deck license to work topside, Marine operations is the only bachelor's of science that has the engine license. Engine allows you to be an engineer on a ship internally, working in power and systems. You'll notice though that marine operations and marine transportation do not have intern options. This is because these are ship-focused business programs. So international transportation and trade has an intern option, marine environmental science has an intern option, and maritime studies have intern option. But these degrees all have deck. Marine environmental science, for instance, you can get the deck license and then go on to work on a research vessel. International transportation and trade, if you're not working on land, you can work on commercial ships like cruise liners, cargoes, and freighters. Same with maritime studies. So having a deck license just opens up more realm of possibilities, more career opportunities, gives you a lot of range. And I think what makes us most unique is that our students have these opportunities. They have opportunities than your average college student, and they get more training and education than your average college student, which also makes us interesting and unique. This is the associates. It's for small limited vessels. So if I double back, limited tonnage, limited horsepower, this is small vessels like yachts, tugs, and ferries. So strictly, they're getting a 2-year degree, a 2-year license to work on a tug, a yacht, or a ferry in the control room or internally. We also have 2 masters. International Transportation Management, as I mentioned, is an extension of International Transportation and Trade. And then Maritime and Naval Studies, which is an extension of Maritime Studies. These have the deck option. They also have an intern option. And, you know, undergrad, you can go right into grad school with us. We also have grad options for somebody coming from another college. So C-term is summer cruise. Summer cruise is a component of being in the regiment pursuing a Coast Guard license. Students have to have 180 days of sea time. They earn this by going on summer cruise, which is essentially these summer months. They're on the ship taking classes, working, and also sightseeing. And so you'll see domestic and international ports. These are places we have docked. International, we've been to Spain, Portugal, Mallorca, Italy, Scotland, Iceland, and the Canary Islands. Domestically, we've been to Puerto Rico, New Orleans, Charleston, to name some unique ports. We're actually in the process of getting a new ship in 2023. This training ship is going to expand where we can go. It also is going to expand the experience, because currently our ship, the Empire State 6, is over 20 years old. It's on the path to decommission. It eventually will no longer be in the water. We have secured funding and are building a new ship to enhance the learning experience here at the college. So it's going to be a huge learning tool for our students. It's going to expand their license, education that they're earning in addition to their degrees here. It's going to make the experience, in my opinion, and in the college's opinion, overall more engrossing, more effective. So internships and career placement. This is where we're most known as a college. We're a college that's very focused on specific degrees. And within those specific degrees, we've built employer relations where our students get internships in the summer, and then ultimately they get hired. We boast over 90% in career placement, meaning our students are hired by companies oftentimes before they graduate. Students that aren't hired before they graduate typically are hired then shortly after they graduate, within 3 months. But over 90% of our students that graduate from Maritime are working in their field shortly after graduation. And you'll see here, these are various employers. And you can see which degrees kind of funnel into what types of job paths. So like Military Sea Lift Command hires a lot of our engineering students. Military Sea Lift Command, on average with overtime, our students, if they're working for military sea lift as an engineer on a shipper, is making about $100K their first year out of college. Con Ed, these students can be making anywhere from 60 to 90K depending on the employer. We have had students work for IBM making 89K. We've had them working up in Connecticut building subs making 75K as engineers. Business students, they can make anywhere from 55 up. And it really depends on if they're working on ships or on land. So there's a lot of really good job opportunities. PepsiCo, Norfolk Naval Shipyard, Con Ed, one of the largest power suppliers. We've had Turner Construction, who built Yankee Stadium, hires a lot of our facilities engineers. You have Maersk Line, Kirby Inland Marine hiring business students. Our marine environmental science have worked for sea turtle recovery. They've worked for NOAA, which is National Oceanographic Atmospheric Association. There are just lots of different opportunities. And if you have a license, you're able to work for a lot of these same companies, regardless of your major degree. But then your major degree is where you have a lot more different opportunities on land. So there's opportunities for students that pursue both on water and on land. I think it makes this place very unique. Application information and requirements. We typically want to see that you apply either through the SUNY or Common App. In that case, we would need an essay. We would need official high school transcripts. Normally, we would need standardized test scores. We are test optional for spring and fall 2021. So the only other thing that we would need would be one letter of recommendation. That application opens up in August. Currently, it's unavailable. But we also, our application so actually the fall 2020, and I don't know why it says this, but the fall 2020 fall 2021 application has already opened up. It's opened up as of August 1st. So students can apply now. To give you an idea of class profile, these are just the averages of students that have been accepted at the college. This is not what we're looking for when we're accepting students, but typically for engineering, we see an average high school GPA of 90. We see an average SAT of 1240. We see an average SAT of 26. Students have to have pre-calc. So that's the one thing that we are mandatory. We make mandatory as a requirement is pre-calc or calculus. Bachelor's of Science, so business, science, or humanities, we want to see an 88 high school GPA, or we've seen an 88 high school GPA. We've seen 1190 and a 25 ACT. I would say that engineering, though, we're typically looking for 88 plus high school GPA. We're looking for 1200 plus SAT, 24 plus ACT. And then Bachelor's of Science, I'd say 85 plus high school GPA, 1100 plus SAT, and 23 plus ACT. So those are just the average students. And you'll see, the average student is excelling in the classroom here. They are doing very well academically coming out of high school. But we do have lower standards for acceptance here. And if you're applying for spring, the deadline is December 1st. Fall admissions, we have 2 applications. So currently, it says currently available. Fall 2020 application is readily available. You have 2 decisions. You can early decision, which is a binding contractual application, meaning you are only attending Maritime. You are only planning on attending Maritime. You are only applying here. That's due November 1st, but regular decision is due January 31st. This is if you have multiple colleges that you're looking at. You want to get financial aid, scholarship info, and basically weigh your options. So if you are only applying to us, apply for early decision, apply for November 1st. If you're applying to, 2, 5, 10 colleges, apply for regular decision, which is due January 31st. We do have EOP here. Being that we're a smaller SUNY, the allotted amount of EOP students that we accept is smaller. It is based on household size and annual income. It's also based on your academic profile coming out of high school. So we look at GPA, and we look at your standardized test scores, which, being that we are test optional, test scores may not be a factor this year. But when you apply for financial aid for college, this is how you get identified for the EOP program. EOP can help pay for school. It's essentially a program to help students that need the assistance. It's also to help students that might not quite meet the academic profile of the college. We want to give students the opportunity, and that's why it's called the Education Opportunity Program. And so when you apply, we will identify through your application if you qualify for this. It does require you to interview through our college. We have an interview date. We bring you on campus if you are selected. You do have to interview. It is competitive. There are a lot of students that get selected, interview, and then only a small pool of those students are selected for our EOP program. But it's something to look into or to consider. If you get selected, it is something to take seriously, as it can help pay for school. In addition to that, though, we do have financial aid. You will apply for, the typical grants, scholarships. Grants, student loans, and then scholarships. And scholarships is where I kind of want to go into a little bit more detail. We offer scholarships through the admissions department. They are alumni donated. And so there are different criteria every year for the scholarships that we hand out. We have scholarships for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and 4 year, meaning there are different scholarships that can help cover 1 through a total of 4 of your academic years here. In addition to that, there is the Excelsior Scholarship in New York State. This is a grant that you can qualify for by applying. The thing to know about it is that it requires you to work in New York State for every year that you accept it. So if you accepted Excelsior for 4 total years, you graduate, and then you get a job offer out of state, outside of New York, you would then have to pay that scholarship back in the form of a low interest loan. The Excelsior becomes a low interest, basically loan through the government. So it's a good program, and it's a great way to supplement paying for college if you plan on working and living in New York State after you graduate. But if it's not your plan, it may not be the right path for you. If you go to a New York State STEM high school, that means science, technology, engineering, or mathematics high school, there is an incentive program that you can apply for coming out of high school. You would have to pursue one of our science or engineering programs in order to earn this. If you earn it coming out of high school, you have it for 4 total years, and it's another way to supplement. In addition to that, we always put external scholarships on students' radars. We want to notify you guys of what's out there. There are marine and maritime industry scholarships that different states offer. When they don't see applicants from their state, they open it up to regional and national. And so we're constantly putting those things out there for our accepted students so they can apply. It's very much like an application process for admissions. You have to supply high school transcripts, a letter of recommendation, an essay, and then the overall application. So, it does follow the same kind of format as applying to college, but it can be another way to pay for school. And then the most important part, estimated costs. This is a breakdown of New York State resident, in region and out of region. New York State resident is essentially someone that lives in New York State. It's a cost of about $22,365 to attend here if you're just pursuing a degree. If you decide to go for a degree plus the regiment plus the commercial Coast Guard license, it's $26,565. And then summer C term is its own semester, and the price changes yearly because we port in different, countries, different docks in the US. So the cost tends to fluctuate. This is where during the year, we also have students apply for additional scholarships for summer cruise. So overall cost, it can be around $30,000 for an in-state resident. So for, if you're doing license, the degree, you're doing summer C term, then because you're in license, it typically goes up in about $4,000 to $8,000 increments. So out of region, think of that as out of state. It goes up by about $10,000. So it would be about $40K to pursue a Coast Guard license, a degree, and then do summer C term here. We do in region though, for states that we see a lot of interest in our college that don't, have a maritime school in their state. So places like Alabama, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Puerto Rico, Rhode Island, South Carolina, VA, and Washington, D.C. are states that we have identified as in region. It's a way for us to offer kind of a middle ground tuition, room and board, regiment, and summer C term at a lower cost. And other states that aren't in region could potentially become in region if we see more interest. So it's just a matter of seeing over time, over years. But this is the current states that are in region. So just something to see. There is a bigger breakdown of cost on our website. You can check it under cost and aid at sunymaritime.edu. These are our counselors. You'll see Danielle Robinson's our director of admission, our associate director of admissions. Carlos Cano is our Associate Director of Admissions for Communications. And then we have a Graduate Admissions Assistant Director. We have a Transfer Coordinator. And then we have a Senior Admissions Counselor, Alex El-Hulu. And then we have our primary undergraduate counselors, Amira Khan, Victoria Lococo, and myself. You'll see that we cover various areas. If you're watching this and you see that one of us are in your area, feel free to take down our email. That way you can contact us to ask additional questions, reach out about the application process, or ask us any general question about the college. These are also our general lines. We have the admissions at sunymaritime.edu email. You can reach us there for any general questions. You can reach the office at 718-409-7221. There's also a contact us page that has what I just showed you on the last slide on our website. We also have Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter, where you can reach out, connect with us, see the ongoings on campus, and really just learn more about us as a higher education college. So I hope today was informative. If you're viewing this at a later time, don't be a stranger. Feel free to reach out to us. I thank you. And I'm going to turn it back to our facilitator.
Great. Thank you, Rich. And thank you for the very informative presentation here on SUNY Maritime. Let me share my screen really quickly at the end here. And I just wanted to say that as you close this window, there will be a very quick 4-question survey. So hope you will give us some feedback to how we can improve these programs moving forward. And we also want to encourage you to sign up for more sessions. As I said, we have a couple more weeks left in this program. And you can check out the schedule at www.pacac.org/virtual. And again, in about a week, the recording of the session will be available at pacac.org/virtual. Thank you all for attending today. Thank you, Rich, for your presentation, and have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.